What is up, everybody? It is A3 Grim Reaper here, and Black Ops 2 comes out tomorrow, and here's to hoping they got all their gun information right. This is going to be in the future, so that shouldn't be too hard. But today we're going to cover what they did wrong with the guns in the first Black Ops game. Now, before we continue, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all the great Black Ops 2 content that is about to show up on my channel. And also, another quick thing, one of my more recent videos was one of those knife-only gun game trolls, and in the title it says Part 1. There was a Part 2 to it, however I did lose my end of the audio. I guess I could still upload the video itself that has everyone else's audio, but it won't have mine in it. I think I'm just gonna delete it, so yeah, there will not be a part 2 to that. Now, the reason why most of these guns are messed up is because of the dates and stuff on which they were designed. Like the Vietnam War, that ended in April of 1975, and the last level on the Black Ops campaign was in February of 1968. So there are going to be a lot of guns that should not be in this game. Now, the first gun we're going to talk about is the M16. And the reason why this is wrong is that all the M16s in this time period were fully automatic. There was not any 3-round burst M16s developed yet. The first 3-round burst M16 was the M16A2, which was developed in the early 80s by request of the United States Marine Corps. And the reason they requested a 3-round burst one is because they had soldiers that would get under fire, and then they'd kind of start to panic and get that adrenaline going, so they'd just spray and pray and waste all their bullets without hitting anything. So by going to a 3-round burst one, it made them use ammo conservation along with an increased accuracy. Nowadays, the Marine Corps uses the M16A4, which is an updated version of the M16A2. It uses the Universal Gun Attachment System, and that's a new system implemented that an attachment for an MP5 would also be an attachment for the M16. They are no longer gun-specific attachments. They developed that with the M16A3, which is fully automatic, and then they made a 3-round burst one for the Marine Corps, the M16A2, or A4, I mean. Continuing on with design failures is the Grim Reaper rocket launcher. Now, this is one of my favorite weapons in the game. I'll give you a quick minute to guess why. However, they designed it wrong. The Grim Reaper is not a rocket launcher similar to the RPG as it's portrayed in Black Ops. It actually fires an incendiary similar to napalm. Now, that was just a technical design error. Other than that, it's fine. Now let's get into the real problems. And the very first gun is the MP5K. And the reason why that shouldn't be in this game is because MP5K wasn't developed until 1976. And that is a year after Vietnam even ended. And I believe the mission where you have to destroy the rocket, it's the third level right after Vorkuta, you're using an MP5K, and that is I think it's almost a decade before that gun was even developed. Another submachine gun is the Mac-11. It was designed in 1972 and produced, so that would put it in production towards the end of the Vietnam War. So I guess you could technically have it in multiplayer, but the problem with this is that you have a Mac-11 as one of your starting weapons in the last campaign level, which, as I said earlier, was in 1968. Another gun that shouldn't be in the game is everyone's favorite AK-74U. Now, the original AK-74, it wasn't brought into military service until 1978, and the AK-74U wasn't even designed until 1979. so it shouldn't be anywhere in this game. Next gun, the Spectre. That wasn't designed until the 1980s. And not only that, but it also is only used by Italian forces. There is not a single country in the world that uses this besides Italy. And Italy isn't even in the game, so why is this gun? Also, we have the Kyparis. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Now, it was designed in 1972, so it could be in this game. It is a Russian submachine gun. However, it wasn't brought into military service until 1991. Moving on, the gun that is really messed up is the Enfield. And the reason why this gun is messed up is because it doesn't exist. I did some research on it, and the closest things I could find that kind of resembled it was the SA-80, which is a British assault rifle. It was designed in the 1970s and 80s, but wasn't brought into military service until the 1980s, 85 to be exact. And then the other one is the AM2 rifle, which is also British, and it was brought into service in 1951, and it's used by England and Canada. However, there were only 59 of these rifles built, so I have no clue what this gun in the game is. Next gun is everyone's other favorite, the FAMAS, and this is a French assault rifle. It hasn't been in military service until 1978. It was designed from 1967 to 1971, but military service wasn't until 1978. And the thing with the FAMAS, and I'm sure with some of the other guns listed so far, I haven't really been checking, but the FAMAS isn't used by any of the countries in this game. It's not Russian, not American, not Cuban, not Vietnamese. But yeah, look up a lot of the guns in this list. A lot of them aren't even used by any of the countries in this game. Next gun up is the Glil, and although it was brought into military service in Israel in 1972, and it is used by Vietnam, as I said before, the last mission in the campaign is in 1968, and I think Treyarch should have done their time periods by that. All their guns in the game should have been before 1968, not just Vietnam era. And then there's the AUG. And the M16 and the AUG, they're what started all this. I looked them up and saw that Treyarch had gotten those wrong, so I started looking at all the guns in Black Ops to see what else they screwed up on, and that's how this video started. Now the AUG, that wasn't even designed until 1977, 2 years after the Vietnam War ended, and it wasn't brought into military service until 1979. However, there's that level in the 60s where Hudson has an AUG with an ACOG and a suppressor. Also, the only countries that use the AUG in the game are the United States, and they only use them for customs and immigration enforcement. Up next, we have probably the weirdest gun in the entire Call of Duty franchise, the G11. And with the G11, it was being developed from 1960 to the 1980s, but this gun never made it out of the prototype stage. It has never been used for police or military service anywhere in the world. It's never been officially produced. They've closed the project. It never made it out of the prototype stage. The closest it came to military service is the G11 was included in the U.S. Advanced Combat Rifle program. And what that is when the United States was searching for a replacement for the M16. But yeah, the G11 never even been officially produced. Moving on from assault rifles to shotguns, we get on the SPAS-12, which is the only one that has an issue here. Now, the SPAS-12 wasn't even produced until 1983, and with countries, the only country that uses it is the United States, and the US only uses it for SWAT teams. It's not used by any military forces. Moving on to sniper rifles, pretty much 3 of them are bad. The only good one is the Dragon Knob. And starting off with the WA-2000, that wasn't designed until the 70s and 80s. It wasn't produced until 1982, and it's only used by German police forces. It's never seen any type of military service. And like I said, they didn't even start producing it until 1982, and they've only built 176. Next, we have everybody's favorite quick-scoping rifle, the L96A1. This wasn't brought into service until 1982, the same year it was designed and produced. We're quite a few years afterwards. It's mostly used by the United Kingdom, however the Russians use it in the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia. Kinda worried that that's where they have the sniper rifle, the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia. And also, all throughout this video, when it comes to countries that have used their guns, I've just kind of counted Russia and the Soviet Union as the same thing. However, really it's not. A gun used by Russia means that it was years after the Vietnam War ended. Rounding up the sniper rifles, we have the PSG-1, and that was designed, produced, and brought into military service in 1972. And the reason I have this under the date category is, like all the other ones developed in 1972 and stuff, is I consider that a Black Ops 1968. That's when the last campaign mission is, so that's when their gun cutoff should be. Let's see, looking at the users here, it is used by the hostage rescue team of the FBI for United States, and it is used by Delta Force, so it's not going to be in Vietnam or any other of the countries in Black Ops. For the most part, Treyarch did a pretty good job with the secondary weapons. Pretty much the only place they made a mistake was the CZ-75, and that was designed in 1975, the very end of Vietnam. However, it's in missions long before then. And like I keep saying, the end of the Black Ops campaign was 1968. All the guns past 1970, a lot of them appear in the campaign before they were even developed. It's only been used in the United States by police departments and Delta Force. Russia uses it for law enforcement. But yeah, really, it hasn't seen any military service in the countries in Black Ops. Wrapping up the guns that I consider date fails is the Strela 3. And although it was brought into military service in 1974 by the Soviet Union, I think a better rocket launcher for this would have been the Strela 2, which was brought in 1968. But doesn't really matter. That's just kind of how I consider it. Now moving on from the guns that I consider date fails to ones that really, the dates on them are good. They could have been in Vietnam, except they weren't. There are guns that are in this game that are not used by any of the factions, and that's the only reason they shouldn't be in the game. And I'm going to take this time to apologize for my organization. I don't really have all my data and facts organized, so in classifications of why the gun shouldn't be in the game, I probably could have done better. To kick this section off, we have the Scorpion. Now, the Scorpion was brought into military service in 1961, so in terms of dates, it's cool. But with the users, it's used by Afghanistan, Angola, the Czech Republic, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Libya, Mozambique, Serbia, Slovakia, Uganda, and Yugoslavia. None of the countries in the game. The MPL, produced from 1963 to 1985. It has been used by the United States military. However, it was only used in Operation Eagle Claw, which was in 1980. Perhaps the weirdest shotgun in the Call of Duty franchise is the HS-10. It looks strange and you can equip it as a dual wield. Now, the HS-10 is an American shotgun produced in the United States. However, it's never seen military service besides the Argentine Navy and the Mexican Army. With United States, it was only used by the police forces for a short amount of time before they discontinued it due to many technical issues. The last gun is the HK-21. It was designed in 1961. However, the only countries in the game that use it is in the United States, and it's the same situation as the Scorpion. It was used by Delta Force in Operation Eagle Claw, which, as I said earlier, was in 1980. None of the other countries in the game use this gun. Now, if we were to take all the guns that should not be in Black Ops and take them out of the game, the guns we have left over to play with are the Uzi, the PM63, the M14, the F-in Fall, or as I call it, the F-in Fail, the AK-47, the Commando, which in real life is called the Car-15, the Olympia, the Stakeout, the RPK, the M60, the Stoner 63, the Dragunov, all the pistols except the CZ75, the M72 Law, and the RPG. Now, the weapons I'm not real sure about are the crossbow and ballistic knife. Starting off with the crossbow, yes, crossbows have been around for centuries. The one thing I'm questioning about is the explosive tips, because I've never seen those in real life. Today, 2012, the closest I've seen were crossbow bolts that explode on impact. None with that little Semtex thing where they sit there for a few minutes and flash before they blow up. And the ballistic knife, I could never really find when that was developed, so I don't really know. One thing I'm not going to touch is all the lethal grenades, the tactical grenades, and the equipment. But like, with the jammer and the motion sensor, I'm not real sure about. Yeah, I'm gonna guess they had the jammer in 1960. The motion sensor is the one I'm really questioning about. And the decoy, I don't really know. I'm just going to assume all of those did exist during this time frame. That brings an end to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, watch some of my other videos, and subscribe. It is Monday night, and that means I am off to a Black Ops 2 tournament with Ghost Killer. I did bring my Elgato and my laptop, so hopefully I can record some gameplay to upload a little bit later. Oh, and yeah, we're going to have a lot more uploads coming up because my laptop, I've gotten the Elgato software to work on it. Before now, I've had to move my entire gaming setup halfway across the house whenever I want to record. So yeah, that should be good. That means I'll be able to produce Black Ops 2 content like crazy. So subscribe and stay tuned for that. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'll see you again soon.